The Lord be with you.
With your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, but early in the morning he arrived again in the temple area, and all the people started coming to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery and made her stand in the middle. They said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what do you say?" They said this to test him, so that they could have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and began to write on the ground with his finger. But when they continued asking him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again he bent down and wrote on the ground. And in response, they went away one by one, beginning with the elders. So he was left alone with the woman before him. Then Jesus straightened up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She replied, "No one, sir." Then Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, do not sin anymore." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
See, I am doing something new. See, I am doing something new. Do you not see it? Do you not see it? This is the Lord speaking through the prophet Isaiah in our first reading. See, I am doing something new. The Lord is continually changing us, giving us new resources, challenging us, not allowing us to be stuck in the past, but moving on. We have a dynamic God who leads us on our journey. The 12 tribes came out of Egypt following Moses to escape into freedom. But they were independent tribes. There were even some hostility among the tribes. But when they got out into the desert and Moses went up Mount Sinai, God gave him something to unite the people. The Lord gave him the law. Gave him the law. It was not something to just boss the people around, tell them what to do. The purpose of the law was to help them, to guide them, to keep them safe on their journey. Help them live in peace with one another. To not allow the violence to continue among the tribes, but for them to attain a mutual identity because of the law. It's what they all had in common ground. It was the law. Through time, though, however, religious leaders started using the law to control people, to condemn them, to make them submit to the law. Through the years, it evolved into 613 tenets, very complicated. But the people were required by the religious leadership to keep the law. And if you didn't, you were a bad person. You'd be unclean, not acceptable. And so they used the law as a way to condemn people. But it was clear that that's not what the purpose of it was originally. The Lord gave the law to Moses not to condemn the people, but to help them, to guide them. If they didn't obey the law, there was a way for them to keep moving, do better, change their behavior. In the gospel today, we have the account of the woman caught in adultery brought to Jesus in the temple area. She had clearly committed a violation of the law. There wasn't any doubt about it. And religious leadership wanted to see what Jesus was going to do about this. Because under the interpretation of the law at that time, a woman caught in adultery was to be stoned. Not the man, but the woman. The woman was to be stoned. And so they're getting ready to do this. So they're bringing this woman to Jesus, saying, okay, she was caught in this serious violation of the law. What should we do about it? Should we stone her like has been the tradition? They keep sort of asking Jesus, what should they do? They're trying to trick him. They want him to do something that they can then condemn him. But then Jesus kneels down on the ground. Very odd behavior. And he begins to write in the dirt. And then he stands up and said, if there's anyone among you who has never done anything wrong, you can throw the first stone. Well, they're not going to embarrass themselves. Of course, everyone's done something wrong in their lives. And it's interesting that the gospel writer identifies the elders are the first ones to leave. They're old enough, they know better. And so they go away. And then finally the crowd all follows them. So they're not going to stone the woman. They're going to leave her there with Jesus. And so Jesus is beginning to draw on the ground again. Writing. There's always been a question for biblical studies. What was he writing on the ground? Such odd behavior. Why would Jesus write on the ground? And one Bible scholar says that one interpretation is that he's rewriting the law. He's rewriting the law by writing on the ground. He's giving a revision of it because the people have begun using the law as a way to condemn people, and he's going to revise the law so that it helps people and not condemn them. And his writing on the ground might be reminiscent of God writing on the tablets when he gave the law to Moses. Jesus is rewriting the law. In fact, he will, in another part of the gospel, give a summary of the law. Summary of the law is in keeping with the teaching of Rabbi Hillel at the time. To summarize the law, love God with all that you are, and love your neighbor as if that neighbor were you. Don't do to other people what you hate. That's the whole law. Not 613 tenets, 2 commandments, and they go together. You can't love God unless you love your neighbor. Can't. It's impossible. Rabbi Hillel says the rest of the law is just commentary. And so Jesus now has reduced this law rather than to an instrument of condemnation, but as a way to save people. So he says to this woman, has no one condemned you? And she says, no. And he says, neither have I condemned you. Neither do I. It's an important sentence because he's breaking new ground in terms of interpreting the law. In fact, the Greek that is in the gospel originally says, "Udeego se katakrino, neither do I condemn you, neither do I. Even though you've been caught in violation of the law, I will not condemn you. But you go home now, behave yourself, and don't put yourself in danger again. Live out your life." He doesn't tell her what to do. He just tells her to take care of herself and be safe, which was why the law was given to the people in the first place. So we too can find ourselves stuck sometimes in how we behave, especially in terms of morality, that we can find ourselves being very condemning of people, not doing what we expect and not following the moral rule. They're doing something wrong. And we can hold that against them, punish them for it, make them suffer, reject them, abandon them, make fun of them. But we're called to be like Jesus and not to use morality as a way to hurt people. It's given to us as a way to make life better and safer for everyone. And so we're called to think of prejudices we might have or assumptions that we have in which we've sort of picked up on that idea, then we're really hard on people because of the wrong they've done. Can't change it, it's in the past. St. Paul, in fact, in his letter to the Philippians, said that I'm moving forward. I'm not worrying about the wrongs I've done. We're heading on. We're moving. We're not getting stuck in the past. And that's the same for us, like St. Paul. Keep moving. Allow people to get better. Don't condemn them. Don't pick on them. Don't abandon them. In spite of anything they've done in their lives, it's time for us to move on and not hold that against them, to allow them to grow, just as Jesus did with this woman. Allowed her, rather than being stoned to death, she's going home. Why? Because of Jesus. Jesus saved her, literally saved her life. The law demanded that the woman be killed, and Jesus said, no, the law is meant to save her, not to kill her. And so we're called then to be kind and gentle with other people in spite of the wrong they've done, in spite of maybe things they've done to us or things that we don't approve of, but not get hung up on that, not find ourselves stuck, but to be like St. Paul and to be like Jesus. Move on. See that the rules that we have in our society and in our religion are there to help us, not condemn us. And so that's what we're called today by Jesus in the gospel. So on this 5th Sunday of Lent, we're just a week away from Holy Week. It's almost here. Now it's time to reflect on maybe a prejudice that we have or a negative assumption about someone or a group of people that we have, to take another look at that, especially reflecting on this gospel. What did Jesus do? He didn't condemn this poor woman. He saved her. And that's what the law was for. And that's what we should use the morality that we have in our society to help people, not to condemn them.